Welcome to the Lion's Den, and I'm Mufasa, big boss in charge of coming in like a bull. You see me raising the stock.
Welcome to the Backstage Pass Podcast with your lovely hosts, Ashley Lakamowski at Fittest Ash Ever.
And your host, Valerie Rotel at Valerie Rotel. Very original.
But original.
Oh my God.
What a day it's been for us, guys. And not to start on a negative note, but we're here.
It's been, it's 6 p.m. right now, my time. And we start at 4. So, it's still going slow.
Yeah.
It is, yeah.
A little bit, yeah. It's a little clippy, guys. So this is a little clip for you guys that we're sharing, letting you guys know we're being real honest because that's what we do. But it's video right now is a little funky.
We're trying.
And we're trying to get it perfect here because we just want it to be perfect for you guys. We want it to be perfect. We want to look at it and think, wow, this looks really good. And so we're just being a little,
So the question is, do we keep it going?
I think we should just flow with it, maybe. I think that we should flow with this, right, guys? Like, let's flow with it. This is what we're about, Val, is keeping it real.
Indeed.
And this is how our first episode is going, which, I mean, I just don't see it going perfect in our way. Like, you know what I mean?
I'm just going to be a little bit slow, so bear with me.
Yeah. So anyways, guys, welcome to our podcast. We just really wanted to, this is our first episode. We wanted to introduce ourselves, right, Val, and like why we started this, what inspired us in the sense of just really wanting to start a cool podcast with two cool chicks.
Yeah. Well, I think yeah, exactly. No, I think the biggest thing is, I mean, if you guys know us, obviously from Instagram, you guys know we have a platform and in the fitness industry, bodybuilding, and that's something that we also have both a personal YouTube, and there is so many things I feel that on either YouTube or Instagram, it's really hard to express yourself in the way that we want to, and I love to be vulnerable. Same thing with Ash, and I think it's hard sometimes on Instagram to really be vocal and people. It's such a quick thing on Instagram. You're not really looking at caption. You're not really listening to stuff much. So for me to go deep and really going being vulnerable is pretty hard. So I think it was always something I wanted to have a podcast, being able to express myself a little bit better. Obviously on with YouTube, even just YouTube video for bodybuilding, people want to see you train. They want to see the way you eat, but they don't want to obviously look at a video, hearing you talk for hours. So I think it was something, it was placed in my heart for a long time. And I wanted to do a podcast, but there was always something stopping me. And there was always kind of a question of when am I going to do that, or with who? And I just never had the confidence to do it either, because I always had something in the back of my head being oh, you don't know enough, you're not, you're not smart enough, what are you going to say, who's going to listen to you? And meeting Ashley this year kind of just all came together in the perfect way. So here we are, and yeah, that's exciting.
I know. And just like what Val says, pretty much what she said is dead on. I think we both were just meant to be, with each other. It's me and Val have followed each other on social media for years now. We met each other a couple times. And I think what really connected us in a weird way was not, I'm not gonna say it's a weird way, but it was we were well, not in a weird way, but it just felt like we were always in each other's paths, right? We obviously had competed in the same division. We follow each other. We were both like, I was inspired by Val. Val was inspired by me. Me and her are very much alike, but we're also very different. So we complement each other. It works. And so the year before, which was 2024, when I had seen her at, was it the Arnold or the Olympia? I think it was
Oh,
the
the Arnold
Arnold,
first,
right?
yeah. Yeah, you came
I
to the booth.
remember
I came
that.
to the booth.
Yeah, you remember that, Val? And like we were talking about like competing, and you're like, "Oh, are you going to compete?" And I was like, "Yeah, I think I am." And you were like, "I don't know. I'm thinking about too."
I
And I
remember.
was like, "You should." Remember
I
that? And I was like,
remember
"You
I said
should."
like I think I might have said like, oh, I might do like New York and stuff, and I think you said, oh, me too, and I was like,
Yes.
shoot, because I was like so
It
shocked.
was like, ooh.
I was like, okay,
I
I'm
was
gonna
like,
get smashed there.
not even. But I just thought it would be, you're so funny. I thought it would be really cool. And for something like, just because I always like loved what you shared on your social media. And I felt like your realness on social media, like it was like really you. But obviously, guys, like when people write things, like there's truth to that, but we can also take those things out of context, right? Like we've spoke about before, Val. So like that's why the podcast is awesome, because we get to share that, but more of like when you hear someone speak about
Hmm.
that, it's different than reading something,
It's like
right?
giving an actual like explanation, like just in like an example in prep. I posted a post of me like crying quick, and I rarely do that, but the clip was like me crying, and then it was me going to train. It was just like, even as a pro, when you see pros, don't think that prep is always perfect. It's like we do have moments where like I'm done. I'm like I cry. I want to give up, but like
Mhm.
I'm pick myself up and I go train, and the amount, and I'm saying that people are really nice, they just care, and they want to help me, but people were like, are you okay, I can help you, and it's like, no, like you guys misunderstood the point, but so it's just funny
Mhm.
sometimes you're like, well, okay, whatever.
Yeah, which makes you think, man, maybe I shouldn't have said that. Or you question like what you're going to put because you don't want people to take it that serious, even though it's serious in your life, but we're also girls, you know what I mean? And not that we're being like dramatic, because we're not, because those are real
Sometimes,
feelings,
but
like that's sometimes, right? But like everything's fine. But yeah, so I think that our journeys and then our journey together of meeting each other, our stories that we would tell each other, and then after we had competed against, or I guess you could say against each other, after we competed, remember I was like, okay, like you should come visit, you should come to Texas, that would be really cool, because I really connected with her. No, it was in Toronto.
yeah,
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 remember at Toronto, and Val came, and I remember seeing her, and she was so supportive, because Toronto, I was just like, I was tired, I had
mm,
gotten sick couple weeks before, and Val was there, and I just remember seeing her, and I was like so happy. And I remember thinking when she was there, that was a point where I was like, okay, she is a this girl's pretty awesome. Like, and I think it's hard for us in the industry to connect with a lot of girls, because it is a sport. And I don't know if it's just our division, but I feel like girls are really can be very catty. And I just think in general.
yeah,
So it's hard to find a girl that you connect with and you can actually build something. It's not just like, hey, like their acquaintance, you know what I mean? Like, hey, we have some of the same interests and stuff. No, like it was actually like something that was like, okay, like there's a connection here. You know what I mean? It's
yeah,
like when you meet a partner, like, okay, and I really feel like it was like that for us.
yeah.
And it was like, hey, like, come visit Texas. Like I would and she was like, hey, like I'm thinking about coming out there. Like I'm gonna get a ticket. And we were like, heck yeah, are you kidding me? Like, please do.
Yeah, I love that, like the fact
Really.
though. I think it's hard to like get like a very good friendship, and I mean, I'm saying the industry because that's what we're in, but um
Hmm.
I think you can meet a lot of people like acquaintance.
Yeah,
Yeah.
acquaintance. Yeah, you got it.
But I think it's just the like deeper level, right? Like
Mhm.
bodybuilding is like even for like guys, right? What the hell? I You're gone.
Oh God. Uh-oh.
Is it your camera?
I wonder if it's the camera. Remember I told you?
Yeah. Okay, sweet. We're back. Okay.
Woohoo! Shit, we're ready to
We're
go.
rolling here. Okay. Um. Oh yeah. So um yeah, so I think it's hard sometimes because you meet girls in the industry or like or even guys, and you see like you'll talk to people but they don't have a lot of that depth. So even me, like, we've been bodybuilding for like 10 plus year, and I feel like there's just a lot of people that you meet, and yeah, it's great, but all they have to talk about is, competing and like prep. And I got to a point I was like, I would get to the gym and I wouldn't even want to talk to like people, because all they would ask is like, how's prep? Are you competing this year? And I'm like, like, is that all people have to talk about? So I think when we really connected is like, even when I came to Texas, there was so many things that we would talk about outside of just bodybuilding, right? There was just so much depth to
Mhm.
like to you, and like the conversation we would get into, and which make obviously like a relationship, I guess, or a friendship, like very
Mhm.
special. Um, but yeah, when I met Ashley the first time, I was competing at the 2021 amateur Olympia. So I was still an amateur at the time, and it was
Mhm.
like before the show. I was waiting for my tanning, and I met her for the first time, and it was really cool because you were like really humble, and it was like it felt really like a friend. And then it took a couple years that we just kind of like saw each other like at expos and stuff, and then um, New York we competed together. But then in Toronto is when we actually talked a bit more, because me and Ashley are actually kind of the same at a show, where really like in our bubble. Like if I'm backstage, I'm like
Mhm.
I'm not the chatty girl. I'm like I don't want to make friend. I'm like very like in my head. I'm like very focused. So in Toronto, though I wasn't competing, so I got to like talk to her more. And then when she was on stage, I don't even think I told you that, but when I was on stage, I was sitting with Mike a lot. At Yeah, like when you were on stage, and I was just chatting with him, and then he told me, he was like, he's like, it's so funny because when you talk, it sounds so much like Ashley. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And then I was like, oh, like I'm probably gonna love her. And
Yeah.
then that's when she kind of like told me like, oh, like you should come to Texas and stuff. And even that, I was like, oh yeah, that would be cool. And then when I ended up like booking my tickets, it's like, and I stayed with them for like a few days, and I would never do that because I'm not really like the kind of person that's like comfortable to go like just stay with people I don't really know much, being
Mhm.
in their space, and like for a couple of days without knowing them. But there was just something in me that was like such a like peace, and like, it just felt like I just knew it would be fine. And I would feel comfortable, and it felt like super comfortable, and just like, really God putting people in your way. And that's what it was. So it's really cool.
It was really cool. And I'll say this is that I feel like for years I would like pray like I just want some like I want someone that loves me for like me. And it sounds like silly, but like I just want to meet some girls that love me and I love them. Like we just love each other for who they are. There's no judgment. There's no like, oh, like I think naturally as girls, like we have our ways, but I feel like if I felt a certain way, I could be open with Val and like tell her like if something was annoying me. I don't know, like I feel like I can just be myself, which is really refreshing. So then like all of a sudden having Val come into my life and then her visiting and then speaking about like the podcast and she was inspiring me with, yeah, you should post more on your YouTube and do this. And I was like, I know. And I feel like I needed that. Like I needed to hear that because, I kind of went through like, I think like after competing, you kind of go through this, I don't want to say depression, but you kind of do. You kind of go through this like where you're just kind of in this weird funk and you're like, I'm tired, I'm exhausted, right? And you kind of just like need a break from things, right?
Hibernation.
Yes, hibernation. So her being part of that for me and me not like getting annoyed or anything was like, I was like, okay, this girl's for me because like we're clicking, and that's when we really started like talking about like just like how she was saying like things in depth, and we're like, this would be
Mm-hmm.
really cool to actually chat about this stuff with other females, even males, like everybody. Like these are things that everybody could tune into and listen and find it interesting. I think just between both of us, sometimes we'd like have conversations and crack up, and we're like, somebody would find this funny.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, for me, like it's crazy though because I'm like I don't have a hard time like being vulnerable, and like that's something I actually love to, because I know that like if I'm vulnerable and like if you like bring it the right way, people are gonna like not connect with you, it's but like you're gonna help people through whatever you're going through, just making sure they're like people like feel like they're not alone. But like for me, like even like the past, like I would say like 2 years for me was like pretty like rough and just like going through so much, and like but I was not really like open on it. I've been a little bit through my YouTube when I was competing last year, but even just the past year I haven't really like talk about whatever I'm like whatever I've been going through, because I don't have a space for that. And a podcast is something, it's kind of like it is scary to start, because you're like, okay, like what if, there's so many what if, like. And I was watching a sermon from a pastor at couple like weeks ago, when we kind of like were just talking about starting the podcast. And then and in my head I was like, okay, there's so many podcasts out there, so like why would I feel like I always want to try to do something that people doesn't do. But then it's like if you would say like, well, don't be a trainer, there's so many trainers, don't compete, there's so many competitors.
Mm.
It's like, it doesn't make sense. It's like if you want to do it and you feel like you're called to do it, do it. And then I was listening to that video and it was saying like let me find it, my memory's not really not good. um, it was
Trying to
yeah, it
distract
was saying
them.
there's something unique God wants to do through your voice and your podcast. So it doesn't matter if there's like so many out there. There's something unique, and like everyone's like every different podcast. So it really helped me through just like going through with it, and like really making it happen. And then when Ashley was like, oh yeah, I'm like, she wanted to do it, I was like, okay, it's like I was
Mhm.
like pumped, because it is hard to find someone to like do it with, and doing it alone is a no-go for me.
Yeah, it's not like, I mean, I guess it could be interesting, but you really have to, I feel like, have like something like, okay, these are the things exactly that I'm gonna talk about. But I feel like it's having the right person. I always feel like it's better to have two people than one, you know what I mean? Or have someone always on. But I feel like it was something that I always wanted to do. I always wanted to have like a radio show, right? And like be on a radio show and just talk about whatever I wanted to talk about. You know what I mean? If you found it interesting, you found it interesting. If not, then you didn't, whatever, you didn't tune in. But I feel like you had said, Val, I feel like we have a pretty good influence, um, on our platform and
Mm.
stuff. But that's because we are who we are, and we share
Honest,
those real
open, and
things.
humble.
Exactly. And we know that we're that way, and we just want to share that with you
Hmm.
guys, and share our
Yeah,
thoughts. And it just really it came
I
together.
know,
The
I know.
podcast came together.
Well, almost.
Guys, we're gonna
Hopefully,
have so much stuff.
yeah.
Huh?
Hopefully, it's like I'm not super slow in this thing, but we'll figure it out.
This is obviously like this was kind of like some hiccups because just getting the technical part together, getting our stuff together on my end, there were things that need to be fixed. And then on hers, like once we got it fixed on my side, then all of a sudden there was like an issue on her side. So we're just like, oh
Yeah,
my gosh, okay. That's why we're like, you know what? We're just gonna film this. Let's film it. We're gonna keep this raw and
yeah.
real as it gets. So
Because
yeah, maybe a little
I guess for
funky.
people who doesn't know us, like I'm in Canada, I'm in Burlington, Toronto, I guess, and she's in
Mhm.
Texas, so it's kind of like a long distance thing. So we're trying to figure out everything. I'm not a technical person, so um, yeah, it's just
Yeah, we're
step
learning.
by
We're
step.
learning the tech part. Yesterday I told Val, I'm like, she was like telling me stuff, and I'm like, wow, you're a techie now.
I've learned from Laura. So that's the only reason why.
Yeah. So you like pick up, like, you're like, okay, I remember this.
I try the best I can.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think like, so what would you say like is the biggest thing like for you like that you want to bring with the podcast, or even okay, well, we need to talk about the name. How did we came up with the name, and
Yeah. Let's,
why kind of like why the Backstage
uh,
Pass? What would you say?
well, number one, I would say it started backstage for us. Number one, I feel like that's kind of where we're backstage last year. And that's where we really started our relationship, where it started, even though we were backstage doing our own thing, you know? Um, and also backstage, when you think of front stage versus backstage, a lot of times front stage, right? You don't you don't hear and see the things backstage. People keep those backstage, but we want to bring the backstage to the front stage
Yes.
to let everyone see, right? So it just makes sense. Backstage pass. We want you guys to admit one ticket to our show. Backstage
It's gonna
pass.
be
Does that make sense? Does that,
hundred
Val? Does
bucks
that make
each.
sense to you? Does that make sense, Val, to you, or did I make that sound complicated? Does
It
that sound
sounds
weird?
very weird. No, I'm kidding. No, no, it's perfectly said. No, it's just like
Yeah.
re bringing people kind of like in the backstage of, what everything. And obviously, it's going to be a lot focus on bodybuilding and fitness industry and,
Mm-hmm.
obviously, what we do, what we are. But, um, and just, you know, I feel like, especially on social media, people doesn't really open up and they don't really some of them are, some of them, but I feel like
Mm-hmm.
it's rare to find people who are really like honest and just really open and are okay being vulnerable. And I think that's a big thing we want to bring to just, talk about the thing people, doesn't talk about.
Shy away from.
Yeah, and like, yeah, exactly. And just um, not feeling alone. Like for me, it's like, it's
Mm-hmm.
hard to admit that like okay like even just like without jumping in the subject because that's a whole subject, but being a bodybuilder, like a pro athlete, and being like okay I have a food problem and like I'm sometimes I gain weight, I'm like no I'm not confident, and just like it's not a good like I guess image from like for me being a pro, but I don't want to hide that if it can help people. And like it's we're not perfect, nobody's perfect, we're all going through things. So I think just yeah really being open with
Yeah.
people, but also I think it's going um just
Deeper
yeah
and
about like other things than just bodybuilding, right?
yeah,
Because we get lost in like
yeah.
oh like this is our all like our like just our identity and that's all we are, and um it is not.
We're much cooler than bodybuilders, guys.
Yeah.
Just being honest. Even though bodybuilders are cool, but we're definitely more interesting than that. And I feel like we have a lot more to share. And but I also feel like, Val, that we're gonna be, as we do this, I feel like with anything, as you do something, you get into it, right?
Hmm.
You start to get more confident, you start to get more inspired and motivated. And I feel like with ideas and things, we're going to be inspired more to like talk about this or talk about that. Like, ooh, should we talk about this? I think so. Like, I don't know. So I know we have some things like already written down that we would love to focus on
Hmm.
with you guys. But, I told someone the other day, like, hey, like, she was asking about, what exactly you guys gonna talk about? And, I kind of told her what Val had said, what I said, with like what our plans are. But I said also, I can't give you exactly, because I feel like once you get into it, I feel like we're going to be inspired, and we'll get creative with it. But I just feel like it's not something like we can't put we have a bunch of ideas, but I just
Yeah.
think things will
I
come,
guess we just don't want
right?
to put it in a box being like, oh, this is a bodybuilding podcast because, it's like,
Yes.
no, we want to talk about everything, whatever comes, whatever
Mm-hmm.
we like, we go through, whatever we think of. And I think one of the thing too, like want to deep like dig deep into like faith too, because I'm a bit newer into faith, and That's kind of, I think
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of how, no, I think that's kind of how Ashley got into my life. It's through obviously God bringing us
Mm-hmm.
together. And I've talked about it a bit on like obviously Instagram, just my like growing in my faith and like my relationship with God. And I think it's just something very beautiful I want to like talk about. And again, it's a place I think that even for me can be like growing into this, but even just chatting about anything and growing into our healing, and just it's a journey for us too, right? So
Yeah,
just
it
bring you
is.
guys along. I know it's like cliche, I feel like everyone says that, but it truly is though.
It is. I feel like our journey has been beautiful, like before starting, and then now what we're going through. I just feel like we're going to blossom
I know.
together and spread our weeds, with you guys.
We don't want weeds, we want well, yeah, I guess
Well,
there's a
the
lot
weeds
of
aren't. They're
weeds. Yeah, no,
daisy. They turn wildflowers. We'll say
and
wildflowers. Wildflowers.
some tulips and
Yeah.
sunflowers too, but a lot of
Yeah.
weeds.
So I guess you could lots of weeds in there, but some really beautiful flowers as well.
Yeah.
So I guess you could say that's really what Backstage Pass Podcast is about. It's, I don't know, everything, a little bit of everything, and our story and, different things that we've been through in our lives, like you explained. And I don't know, we'll see how. I'm just excited. I'm kind of just like, let's just roll with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, have fun.
Let's roll with it.
And then obviously include you guys just in everything, right? If you guys have question or
Yep.
things that you guys want us to talk about, we're up for it.
Please send our way. Yeah, send our way. And I think what we're gonna do too, we'll do like something um on social media, get some questions in. We'll pick. I think what we could even do, we can write down some questions and like pick them out, you know what I mean? And then see like kind of like whatever question, like well, you can ask whatever, but I don't know, but we'll still pick the ones that are the best because I know there's some people might like put something kind of just like,
NGL, it's like the worst app ever.
oh yeah, yes, and you don't know
You
like
get like
who it
the
is,
weirdest
obviously.
question on there. You're like,
I've only done it one time. Have you
really?
done it a couple
Oh, I've
times?
done it so many
Yeah.
times, and I answer like three questions because all of them are so weird and kind
Yeah.
of stupid. Um,
They're like, what size shoe do you wear? Like,
yeah,
how long is your finger? It's like, why do you want to know how long my finger
want to
is?
put a ring on it?
That's kind of weird.
um,
Gross. Yeah.
but yeah, I think today like we just want to introduce ourselves. Obviously, like
Yeah.
in other episode we can kind of talk about a bit more like her story or like what we're about. But obviously, I know some of you guys gonna come from Instagram. You guys know a bit of her story. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, kind of just what is our plan for the podcast, kind of what how it came about. But we're really excited about it.
You're so cute. You're like, hey. No, yeah, no, it's perfect. Yeah. So that's our introduction, guys. And
Like I don't know if I'm like just
I know we were well, like we said, we were prepared like a few hours ago, but then we weren't prepared. So um my mind's like, it's kind of like going a different way.
I'm
Right
just
now.
focused on like am I going too fast for the screen?
No, it looks perfect. It looks good. But yeah, we're excited, guys, and we're excited that you guys tuned in for you guys that did tune in. And just keep an eye on us. Make sure you guys follow us. And we have so much in store. And again, super excited to share our thoughts and our life with you guys. Honestly, I guess you could say our life, our thoughts. You know,
Yeah.
so I guess wrap it up. What do you think, Val?
Yeah. Wrap it up. gonna gonna go have a meal, and
Yeah, I'm gonna have a
it's
meal.
bedtime for me.
I know it's bedtime for you. I'm gonna have a meal, get another water in that I finished a while ago. Get that in.
Yeah,
But I really enjoyed this and I'm excited to have our dates.
I know. Same weekly dates. It's gonna be weekly.
Yeah.
We're gonna make sure that um we post weekly and we don't have kind of
Yes.
like a day yet, but we just hope you guys
Mhm.
enjoy and kind of tune in and get on the journey with us. And yeah, we appreciate you guys' support already. Yeah, we love you.
Love you guys. Bye.